So this right here is my electrical fence system. It's not fantastic. You got to tighten it up every once in a while, but it works. It's not on right now, so I definitely would not be doing this if it was on. And yes, the animals haven't been over here, so the chewing has not proceeded. Tighten that up a little bit. It's like the last time I came through here, I didn't hook this back up. Like I said, it's not something I got to worry about right now because the goats are not in this field. So, but that's my gate. I have 3 ways. I have to unhook it 3 times to completely unhook it. This loosens up a little bit and can generally be tightened by just twisting some of these. And once it's electrified, the goats will leave it alone, so it'll stay generally tight. But I still got to tweak it every once in a while. I actually want to show you how I've got my electrical system done, or my box. So I'm going to unhook this. So I have this set up this way so that I can keep all my connections dry. You can see there's been a little bit of water in here, but it stayed dried. It stayed dried because it doesn't sit on the side, it sits in the middle of the bucket. And I just have some twisties to tie these on. Have to take these off so that I can move my bucket, which is a lot easier than if it were to be nailed down or screwed down somewhere on a post. And I'm sorry if my dead cat's getting in the way again. I'm still trying to get something to elevate that. So the reason that I'm pulling this bucket apart, so I can take you and show you how I constructed this. It's not waterproof and it's not watertight, but I wanted to show you how you can make a pretty good water secure box that you can move around fairly easy. You don't have to plant a post into the ground. You know, I use this in 2 different spots. I use this around my porch when I have the goats in the front yard, and then when they're in that field I put it on that fence over there. So instead of burying a line the whole way to run electricity, that's how I do it. So I've got these electrical twisties. I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but and this is the bottom lid. It actually provides a platform for the whole apparatus to sit on. And these are paint buckets. They're not something that I bought at Lowe's or anything like that. They're not just junk buckets. They're actually paint buckets. So they have a waterproof seal in there, and that helps keep the water out as well. Then I just ran my extension cord in here. This is just an extension cord so that I can plug in, I can plug my I'm not sure what it's called, control unit of the electrical fence in. Okay, so then what I did was I took the top or the bottom part of the bucket, the container part of the bucket, and I took another paint bucket, same type of exact same paint bucket. Well, not the same, but the same type of paint bucket. I believe they're 5-gallon paint buckets, and I screwed. Yeah, you can see it. I have some screws in here, and I screwed those two lids together, the lid and the base of the paint bucket together, so that the control unit actually sits above the ground, so that rain's gonna fall down, right? Rain goes, gravity pulls rain down. Well, this is sealed except for under the very underside. And there's a hole there to run all the wires through. So as long as this stays upright and doesn't get under too much water, it's going to be, this unit's going to stay dry. So then what I did was I ran my ground cable and my hot cable down through the bucket the same way I did the power supply into the container part of the second bucket, and there I make my connection with the wire nuts. That's what they're called. With the wire nuts, I connect all that stuff up in here so that it stays out of any water that may build up on the ground. And you know, if we have 8 inches of water sitting in that one spot, that area stays wet pretty easy. But if we have 8 inches of water, then we got a real issue, and that's never happened. So it's not airtight. Buggies do get in there, but I use my wing nuts to connect everything that's going outside of the bucket. So this one right here is going to go to the fence, and this one right here, well, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. This red one goes to the fence, and this white cable right here goes to the ground. So then I use that wing nut to connect the fence and the ground posts together. Well, I connect this with the fence, and I connect this with the ground posts. And the ground posts is going to let that electricity go throughout the ground, so that when the goat steps up or animal steps up and they hit that fence, electricity follows the path of least resistance, and it goes through their skin, down through their feet, back into the ground where there is the connection and the circuit is complete. So that gives them a wallop or a shock. And instead of spending, I don't know, $6 on a post and driving it in there, because it more likely needed to be wood, a 2x4 or a wood post, driving that in and then screwing this into that wood post, I do it on the bucket. Oh, wait a minute. So in the directions, this says to make sure this is waterproofed. So you can't just put it on a post in the middle of the field. It's got to be covered. It's supposed to stay away from water. So that's where these buckets come in. Not only do they hold it up and they give me a base that I can move back and forth, but they prevent the water from flowing into this compartment. And since the water doesn't flow into this compartment, this stays dry and operational. And to put it back together, is really pretty simple. You just take, as a matter of fact, there's a little bit of water in here, but it hasn't affected the power supply because it's so little. This is in the center. It's so little water, it's like a drop of water, that it's not going to hit any of these electrical parts. And this is in the center, so it's not enough of water to build up to corrode anything or short anything out. Like I said, this lip is waterproof, so you just pop it down in there like that. Water goes down, water doesn't go up, so it stays dry. And then when I get back into the field, I'm going to run my power supply, or excuse me, my extension cable out through the side of this hole. Now water will get in there, but I can keep this with these copper wires. With these copper wires, I can suspend this so it doesn't sit on the bottom either. So even if it does get a little bit of flood water in there, the electrical connections are not sitting in the water and it's not going to short out. I'm just going to connect my stuff back together. Then I'm going to take this lid and pop it on, you know, press it down so that waterproof seal right there takes hold, or plug it in and it'll be good to go. When I get it hooked back up, I would touch the hot wire for you, but that's really not very fun, and that's what keeps the goats off of the fence. So I'm going to ask you to trust me on that it does work. And if you're looking for a way to mount your electrical fence controller, this is a great way. I don't have to buy the posts. I don't have to go out and buy an electrical box or a waterproof box big enough, because that can be expensive, big enough to put my electrical controller in there, and I'm good to go. I can move this around. I don't have to, all I got to do is disconnect the wires. I don't have to go unscrew anything or anything like that. So this is the way to go if you need, especially if you need a portable solution. So you may ask me, you may say, Eric, where do I get these paint buckets at? Well, we got ours because we built the house, and we had paint buckets left over because we painted the house. But if I didn't have those, it'd be real easy to go to a new neighborhood where there's construction going on. Somebody's going to be painting the house, and I guarantee you, they'll either have buckets in the trash, or they'll just give them to you once they're done, because that means they don't have to clean them up, they don't have to throw them away. So that saves room in their trash bin, and they do get charged by the yard on that stuff. So if you can save some trash for them, they'll be happy to give it to you. You know, I did the same thing on my chicken house back there. I needed some siding material because I didn't have enough, and I just asked the guy. Went up to the neighborhood and they were building a house, and I said, hey, you got any used siding you're not going to be able to return? They're smaller pieces, right? But they're not going to be able to return them, so it's a net loss for them. They don't mind you taking those off of them most of the time. It's not like they're counting the trash bin so much most of the time. And this paint bucket thing is going to save you quite a bit of money, because a waterproof container can cost $20-30, and then you got to plant a post, or you got to put it into a wall, things like. Until next time, this is Eric with the Mud Creek Homestead. You have a good day.